Alright, so I'm going to be showing how to not disassemble, but reassemble this MSI GF75 thin 9SC-278US, and then there's a really long dash BB7975 H16GXXDX10MA. Super long model number. Anyways, so I already took all of this out. If you want to see how to open up or disassemble one of these, I don't have this exact model, but it's a MSI GF75 thin. Different model, but very, very similar design. So if you want to see, I have a video showing that. All right. So the main difference with this design is the heatsink is two separate pieces. The other one I took apart was one piece. All right. Anyways, we're going to reassemble this. So the reason I took this thing apart was the charge port or DC jack was actually damaged here. So I replaced this one. And if you want to see how to remove a DC jack or charge port from here, again, I have a video showing that as well for the similar model, but not this one. Anyways, the way I remove this is I use a hot air gun to heat the entire thing, usually around... I think it's anywhere from like 320 to 360, but basically you just heat it, and I use like needle nose pliers to kind of grab in here, and while I'm heating it, I'm just pulling it down. So eventually, once the solder gets hot enough, you do want to kind of warm the rest of the board. Don't just focus it all on here right away. You kind of want to like warm up the board so it's not like just all concentrated in one area. And then as you keep heating it, you just keep slowly pulling. Eventually this will get hot enough that it will pull out. You can double check like the temperature that it requires to melt solder. It depends what kind of solder's here, but usually like 320 to 360 you'll be able to melt the solder. But again, you don't want it to get too hot because you don't want to damage and burn the board. Okay. After you remove that, what I used a soldering iron to melt that, and then I used this solder sucker pump thing, which basically quickly pulls air out. So I'll heat this with the soldering iron, and then from the bottom I'll suction the solder off. So I would have this kind of hanging over my desk, use the solder pump to pull that out, and then continue. If the solder is kind of stuck there, you'll want to push new solder onto it. You can also add some flux. So I use like this kind of rosin flux paste, but you can use any kind of soldering flux stuff, which basically gets rid of oxidation on the metal. So if the metal here, you can see how it's so shiny right now. If it's not really shiny, that means the stuff is kind of oxidized. So the rosin kind of helps get rid of that to make it so the solder can actually stick better to the little things. So you can see how it's really well coated the copper areas around it. So if the solder's not really sticking well, you'll want to use some flux. You heat the area and then you push the solder into it. You don't want to actually melt the solder onto the soldering iron and then stick it on, because then you're going to have no flux, and the smoke is actually flux burning off, not the metal. And that smoke stuff that's burning off helps get rid of the oxidation, and then it allows it to stick to the copper. So yeah, then I basically soldered that all in. The two little ovally ones were really hard to clean up, so I cleaned all these little pinholes the best I could, and then these two I couldn't completely clear out all the solder, so what I did was I put fresh solder on there, and then I held this into place. So these two pins were in all the way, and then this one was kind of sticking out because the two small pins couldn't go up. So what I did was I was pushing up the solder, the DC jack or charge port, and while I was pushing it up into place, I used the soldering iron sideways to melt both those two little holes, enough that it, like, once it heated enough, then the whole thing just pushed up into place. You do want to make sure to put some good, again, rosin flux or whatever in there so that the pins that come through the hole will stick with the solder. All right, so that's pretty much it for that. Again, let's go ahead and reassemble this. If you're trying to repair your charge port, the one thing with this design, it's not so much the design of this computer that causes these charge ports to break, but the charger, they put like this L-shaped one. So when people pull the charger out, they don't pull from like the part that's coming out here. It has this L, so they pull on that, and what happens is it twists it twists the charger like that, and over time it just breaks this. So they actually had one of these legs got ripped off, and then all the rest were kind of just loose. They didn't have a good solder joint here. I don't know if they brought it somewhere to get soldered before, but yeah, it looked messy. I don't know if it was getting burned from the loose connection, but it looked pretty bad. Anyways, we're gonna get this back in. So first things first, there's these little ribbon cables that do need to connect on the back here, as you can see. And these have these, let me see if I can show you, has these sliding mechanisms here, okay? So these slide out, and then this one has a little flip latch. So if you look at it, this is keyboard cable, keyboard backlight, and then the touchpad or trackpad cable. So I'm gonna put in this keyboard one first just because it's longer, so I have a little bit more room to maneuver. So this cable goes in like this, kind of, you gotta put it upside down. Sorry, I don't have much room on my desk with all the screws all around that I took out earlier. So make sure those tabs are pulled out, push that in, make sure it's staying in, and then you can slide this up. If you have someone to help you, that might help, might be easier, but basically make sure that cable's all the way in, and then you pull these little tabs on the sides up. And I like to go left, right, until it's no longer moving. That's how I know it's for sure all the way in. All right, so same thing, you have the keyboard backlight cable, get that, line it up, slide that in, and then while you're holding that in place, again, push those tabs in. I'm holding it with my finger here, and then I'm trying to push these tabs in. For some reason, when taking this out, these tabs are really difficult to pull out. And again, you want to keep going left and right, alternating if you don't have a way to pinch both sides at the same time. And then once you feel it stop moving, then you're good. Okay, then the touchpad cable, again, make sure that latch is flipped up. This one's going to be tough because there's no slack here. So let me see, I gotta kind of look from the side. All right, so let me see, how can I do this? It's harder to do it also because I'm recording, but okay, it might be easier from this angle. All right, so push that in, make sure that goes in, there we go. Okay, and then while you're holding it in, flip that latch down, there we go. We're gonna now rotate and flip this over. Okay, I'm gonna turn this around so you guys can see better and zoom out a little. Sorry, I know now it's kind of zoomed out far, so it's gonna be a little bit hard to see. Make sure these cables end up on top. Make sure the wireless card ends up on top, okay? I did leave the screw in there. I didn't pull the antennas out because sometimes it's a little risky. Make sure these antennas stay in. Sometimes the solder is not too good on the antennas. I've had it at least once where the little connector kind of just fell off, even though I didn't really put much force. So now I kind of am traumatized by that, and I'm too scared to take out the antennas unless I really need to. So yeah, if one's gonna have that issue, then I don't want to mess around with it and then risk again. Okay, so we got this piece. We gotta make sure, oops, let me zoom out more. We gotta make sure all these cables end up back outside. You don't want to, okay, you don't want to leave connections underneath there. And this kind of has little tabs that kind of stick out, so be careful because when you put this in place it might kind of get caught. All right, so make sure everything's lined up, it drops in nicely. Okay, and now I gotta make sure I get all the screws back in here. When I took these out, there was quite a few screws. Let me see, I'm trying to remember what came out from where. So we had these, the hard drive here, so this one just kind of lines up and then slides into there, slots in. Make sure it's connected properly. I think it should be good. Okay, and there were two screws holding this down, so we're going to get those two screws back in. Oh, what did I do? Almost lost the screw. Come back here. Okay, so we'll get this screw back in. Good, and get this screw back in. Okay, there we go. And let me double check here because when they brought it, some screws were kind of like missing on this. So 3, and then they had one. Yeah, they're missing a bunch of screws on this one that they brought me. Okay, anyways, we got all of that. Okay, Then we have this cable. We'll worry about that after. Okay, we got, oh, I think this is supposed to go underneath the hard drive. Let's see, we'll plug in the speaker connector here. So this is the speaker cable for both speakers, if you can't tell. All right, you want the exposed metal pins of this connector faced up. Let me actually zoom in a little bit for you guys. Okay, so this one has the exposed metal pins. So if you replace the speakers, make sure you have it right. The white and black are going to this side, the red and black are on that side, but the red and black wire goes to the speaker here. Okay, and then the black and white one kind of just runs all the way along underneath. Anyways, we're gonna line this up, okay, and then pinch that into place. Is this supposed to go under the motherboard? There's so much slack here. Okay, I'm gonna take the hard drive out so I can put the cable underneath, because you can see it's like right now on top. I'm assuming it goes underneath because it's kind of all in the way here. All right, so we'll take the hard drive back out and we'll just shove this under there. I don't know if this is supposed to go all the way under here as well. It doesn't really matter. As long as you're not damaging these cables, you should be okay. You can thread it however. Oh, okay, so this has a flap here, so I guess it's gonna stay like that. And we can just shove this wherever, it doesn't matter. Okay, as long as you're not gonna put screws down into it. So make sure it's not going into any screw hole areas, okay? We'll get this back in. Get that lined up. If you're wondering, these little copper patches here, those are to the wireless antennas. So the wireless antenna has a little board that's sticking up against, there's a plastic tab here, and then it goes vertical. So there's the tape, and then they go vertical this way and stick it on the side. There's one there and one here. So the white one and the black one, just in case you're wondering. Okay. All right, so we got that. Oops, where am I putting? I was like, why is it still screwing? I was putting the hard drive screw into the case screw hole. All right, we're gonna take the screw out. I left this screw here so it's easier to find for the wireless card. I'm gonna put the wireless card back in. This goes in slightly at an angle and then goes in like that. And then make sure this part has a raised center post. Make sure the wireless card goes beyond that, so that way when you put the screw, it's flush with the post and not like smashing the wireless card into that post. Otherwise you can destroy the wireless card. Okay, so there we go, got that in. What else? We got this, but we're gonna have to make sure we cleaned up the GPU over here and the CPU already. We're gonna have to redo the thermal paste. So I cleaned it on both sides actually. What did I do with my extra thermal paste? Here we go. Okay, so we're gonna have to redo the thermal paste here. So let me zoom in so you can see. There were some screws that were hidden underneath, so we're gonna have to make sure that we put those screws in before we put everything back together. Okay, so we're gonna reapply the thermal paste here. You don't need a crazy amount here. The heatsink will actually smash it down very thin. So yeah, you just need like a circle, and that's probably actually more than enough. And then this side we're gonna do like a long line here. Okay, that's more than enough. It's squeezing too much out. Okay, so this stuff gets smushed super thin, so it looks like it might not be enough, but that's actually plenty. This one actually has way too much. I should bring some over to the other. Come here. Should bring some over to here. Okay. So you just make a circle in the middle here. Depending what kind of paste you use, you want to be careful because you see all these little components here. You don't want it to overflow into there if you can help it. Depending on what paste, if it's a conductive, then it can be a problem. This one's icy diamond, it's not really an issue. This kind doesn't really conduct electricity, so it's not an issue. But you do want to be careful if you're using something that is more conductive. If it flows into there, you can have some pretty big problems, okay? So we're just gonna make like a line here in the center. And the reason you do that is when it smushes down, it will push all the air bubbles out to the outside edges. Okay, It doesn't need to be like, you see how there's the stuff I put all around it. That's okay, because it will push the air and spread everything else out evenly. So okay, so there we go. We got the thermal paste on there. Okay, so we're gonna have to now put back some screws and then put back the heatsink. So first I'm gonna make sure here that we get whatever screws we need. So this one was for the heatsink. It's gonna go on this way. Okay, there's the 4. The problem is I have to remember where all the screws came from. So you see there's like numbers here telling you. They actually put numbers on these. So there's, what? 1. They put 1 here, 2 here, 3 here, and then 4, 5, 6, 7. Interesting. Okay. So these would all go there. Am I going to be covering anything? So this screw will hold down there. That screw will go there. That screw here. So I might need to be careful, make sure I'm not blocking anything. I know for sure this one has where I have to put this screw here. I think it was this black one here. So we'll put that screw back in. Okay. And then we have this other fan here. So this one has all these screws. So we have 3, and then we have these 2, and then we have one more. I'm assuming it's that guy. Yeah. Okay. So this cable has to be threaded through here. So make sure you do that. If you were taking it out, you would have to actually also thread it out the other way. So, okay. And then this cable, you see you have all this slack here. Wait, I messed up. Okay, let me take this back out. So this cable, it has to go on top first. You can see it has this tape that was on top, and then it has to go underneath. So I was doing it actually reverse. So that goes on top, and then this goes underneath this way. Okay, so like that. All right, make sure this latches up, and then we'll get this in. So we put the hidden screw in first, and then you want to be careful because here, once you drop it down, the thermal paste is going to make contact. So you want to make sure things are lined up properly. You can go ahead and push this connector back in. If you're wondering, the exposed metal pins are facing up towards the fin, and then the part facing this way is the solid plastic with the little bumps in it. So we're going to push that connector in. All right, I'm going to line this up carefully and slowly. All right, so this is 3, 4, 5, 6. So 1 is here, 2 is there. So let's go ahead and put screw number 1 in. If my head got in the way, I'm sorry, because I'm kind of, so I only loosely fit it. All right, we'll screw number 2 here. I like to twist it backwards, hear it click, and then twist it 3 times. Okay, so number 2, then we got number 3 over here. 1, 2, 3. Okay, number 4. Right, click 1, 2, 3. Number 5 here. Click 1, 2, 3. And number 6 here. Click 1, 2. Oops. 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to go back. Make sure, let's actually get all of this lined up first. And this will be in the way, so let's go ahead and do this. 1, 2, 3. Screw number 2. 1, 2, 3. Screw number 3. 1, 2, 3. Number 4. 1, 2, 3. Number 5. 1, 2, 3. Number 6. 1, 2, 3. Number 1. 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's tighten that all the way down. Number 2. Tighten that all the way down. Number 3. Tighten that all the way down. Number 4. Tighten that all the way down. Number 5. Tighten that all the way down. And number 6. Tighten that all the way down. I know somebody's probably going to ask, how thick are the thermal pads? I don't know. I don't measure that stuff. I reuse what's there. All right, we're going to get this tucked back in. Okay, and then tape that back down. And that latches up. We're going to go ahead and get this back in. Okay, line that up. It's very important if you're messing with this LCD LVDS connector that the battery was disconnected and the power button is held down for at least 15 seconds. Like open the laptop and hold the power down, because otherwise there's still power in the capacitors and things, and it's enough to short or fry the backlight circuit, melt this cable, melt the connector, melt the screen. So you don't want to mess around with that if there's power in this thing. Okay, again, we have the other fan. It looks to be about a millimeter or so, but I don't know. I don't measure these. So, all right, let's flip this back over. We're going to do the same thing here. So we got this. Again, you want to slowly, carefully line it up and then drop it down. Okay, because you don't want to just smush down all the thermal paste right away. So try and get it all lined up best you can. Okay. Oh, okay, that's going to be a pain. All right, so you can see I accidentally touched a little bit, but it's okay. It just went straight up. If you want, you can try and center everything again. Okay. All right. Push it all to the center. All right. So I forgot, this thing sticks out a little, so we actually have to angle it this way to get this in. So angle that in, get it all into place, line it up, slowly lower this down. All right, and there we go. Now we'll put in the screws. Again, they're all numbered, so we got number 1 here first. You hear it click, 1, 2, 3. Number 2 over here. Click, 1, 2, 3. Number 3. Click, 1, 2, 3. All right, and then these, they stay attached, so we didn't take these screws out. Number 4, backwards. Click, 1, 2, 3. Number 5. Click, 1, 2, 3. Number 6. Click, 1, 2, 3. Number 7. Click, 1, 2, 3. All right, and we'll go back, 1, 2, 3. We'll actually tighten it all the way down. 2, 3. Let's tighten it all the way down. Number 3. Tighten it all the way down. Number 4. Tighten that all the way down. Okay. Number 5. Tighten that all the way down. Okay. Number 6. Tighten that all the way down. Number 7, tighten that all the way down. All right, so now the paste is getting pushed down. Again, make sure to plug this in. The exposed metal pins for this connector are facing that way, and then the solid plastic side is facing towards this. So if you get a new fan, make sure you plug it in the right way. Don't try and force it in backwards, or you can destroy the pins, and then your fan won't work. All right, push that down. Good. All right, I think we got everything reconnected. The battery was kind of a pain, if you're wondering, if you're trying to replace yours. You do, or I had to use a little isopropyl alcohol to get it out. So this thing was held in with, you can see there's some adhesive residue here. So it's stuck down to this pad here and this sticky pad here. I had to use isopropyl alcohol. I dripped a little bit in this corner. After I did that, I was able to pull this thing up and then pull this connector out, because this connector is very, very well seated in there. Okay, anyways, there's 2 sticks of RAM. We'll pull these 2 tabs. This is aftermarket RAM, I'm sure. So I don't know what you have in yours, but this is DDR4 2666 32 gig set. So I think there's 2 16 gig sticks of DDR4 2666. So you should be okay with any DDR4 2666 speed RAM. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead now. Get the battery back in, and then I'm gonna have to plug this in and make sure it works. So to plug this battery in, obviously it has the little square or rectangle thingy on top sticking up. You gotta make sure, line it up. Okay, make sure it's lined up well, and then we'll just pinch and pull. Oh, I'm stupid. Okay, the antennas, now that I see this tape here, I remember the wire went across up there. So the wire is actually supposed to be on top, not underneath. I don't know if I can lift it up now without taking screws out. Let's see. Lift the board up and let's see if I can get this back out. Okay. All right. I don't remember if it was on top of the hard drive though. Again, it's not that important to put it that way, because as long as you don't smash and damage the wire, you're okay. All right, but I like to try and put it back the same way I found it, so since it's like that, I think it was actually this way, if I remember correctly. So there's this thing here, and then this, if I remember, was kind of like that, stuck up there, and then the rest of this was probably all also kind of up here, but I don't know, I don't remember. There's no other stuff holding it in place, and this is kind of just staying there by itself, so I think we'll just do it that way. Okay, slide that back on. Yeah, you see all this extra wiring? I don't know, I don't remember. Whatever, it doesn't matter as long as you don't destroy the cable. Make sure it's not going into any of the screw mounts. That's the important part. Okay, let's get all this back together, and then we'll reassemble it. I'll kind of go over a few more components. Obviously, this is the touchpad. I don't think this is really removable. This part is held in with melted plastic, although it's a little bit wobbly. I think also because there's a little crack on this plastic piece here. All these ports are soldered to the board. You do have an M.2 PCIe NVMe SSD here. You can upgrade this to a larger one, faster one, better one. There's a CMOS BIOS RTC real-time clock battery right there with the connector there. Obviously, there's a 2.5-inch SATA hard drive. That's the wireless card. Speakers, all right, like I said, both are connected here. There's no screws holding it. It's just held in with these little raised mounts so you can pull the whole thing up. And I think that's it. All right, let's go ahead and get the battery back in. I'm gonna have to go get the charger and then plug it in. I don't know I hope they gave me the charger. All right, we're gonna pinch this into place, make sure it goes in all the way, and then you line up this corner here, down there, and then line up this corner here, and then you can stick that all down. All right. Okay, and the bottom cover we'll put back as well. They are missing a bunch of screws. I do need to actually dust this a little bit. There's some dust stuck to the bottom cover. Okay. All right, there we go. Let's go ahead and grab this and just drop it. Oh, my bad. Okay, the little headphone jacks, they protrude out, so you actually have to slide those into this side of the cover first. Make sure it lines up. Slide the jacks in. Let me see if I can show you that. You see that, how they kind of stick out? So you have to slide that over and get that in first. Once you get that on, you can go ahead and work your way down. All right, so there aren't really, I don't know if the previous person worked on this, broke all the clips, but nothing really clipped. All right, anyway, so we'll get all these screws back in and we should be good to go. So this is their old charger. You can see the metal tab actually broke off on this side. All right, and then it was kind of really wobbly. But anyways, hopefully this video helped you guys out. I know I didn't show the disassembly part, but it's basically this in reverse. Again, I do have another video of a very similar model, so if you need that, let me know. All right, if this video helped you out, again, please like, comment, subscribe, share my channel with others so that they can learn how to upgrade and repair their device as well. And if it helped you save a bunch of money, please consider contributing a little to the channel. Every little bit helps and allows me to continue making these videos for a living. All right, if you can't help out that way, it would help a lot if you could watch a few of my other videos and then like and comment on those as well, because that's what the algorithm likes to see. But yeah, other than that, thanks for watching, and yeah, I'll see you on the next one. Oh, also, if you're wondering, there's a little hole here. That's like a battery reset. If for some reason your computer is having issues powering up, maybe it's not detecting the charger or something, you can try using a pin. I use a folded out small paper clip to press that, and sometimes like theirs, because their charger was shorting out the computer, it actually helped start up the computer after it wasn't turning on. So yeah, you can use a little fold out clip. If you took the bottom cover off, you can actually just physically push that button. I'm gonna see if I have some similar screws here because they're missing a bunch, but that's not important for you to watch. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Let's drop this. Bye. Oh, my bad, I forgot to show you guys plugging it in to see if it works. So charge port is on this side, so let's go ahead and plug it in. All right, so we'll plug this guy in. Where's the charge indicator? This battery hole? Oh, my flash is on. Sorry, it's on. You see that? It's lit up white. Let's see if the computer starts up, because let's see. All right, powered up. You can see the keyboard's lighting up. At least I hope you can. I didn't pull out the CMOS BIOS battery, so it shouldn't be taking this long to start up. I hope it's not having power or boot issues. Let's see. I also replaced all the missing screws, so now it has enough screws. I hear stuff spinning up. Oh, there we go, MSI. So we should be good to go. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.